Thank you so much. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with all of you. My name is Joanna Heisman. I am with KnowBe4. I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategic Insights and Research, which means I write a lot and I talk a lot. I have a pretty unique background in this space, and we are switching now from kind of the technology focus of cybersecurity to more behavioral and the human element. And so my background is I actually was a practitioner at ADP for many years, where I rolled out a global security awareness and training program across 132 countries to 55,000 employees. I moved from there to Gartner, which is the leading tech research company in the world. And at Gartner, I actually led all of the research. I talked to thousands of clients a year about security awareness and training and how to lift the readiness of your people to be more security ready and knowledgeable. And then I moved from Gartner to the leading security awareness and training company globally, which is KnowBe4. And so today, I think it's important that we talk about, what is that human element and how we can strengthen that human element to become more of the firewall that we need. So what's the moment when you think, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I will tell you that over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, we've been in interesting times, right? And some might say that it's some of the worst times that they've seen. Because of the global pandemic, we've certainly experienced not only challenges, but a certain degree of loss, whether it's with life or time or, availability to each other or work, or just even some minor inconveniences that were brought up. Unfortunately, it has been some challenging times. Now, if you're a cyber criminal, it's actually been like Christmas, right? It's been some of the best of times for you. Because cyber criminals, what they're looking to do is access your environment, whether it's personal or professional, and keep finding ways to gain that access under a trusted umbrella. And so our interest as humans in the pandemic continues, hasn't wavered, and certainly the way that these cyber criminals get into our space may have changed based on the subject lines that they've used, but it continues to be top priority and it continues to be something that we click into. And so on the front end of the pandemic, it could have been phishing emails with subject lines that said something like, find out what the infection rate is in your area. Or it could have moved then to find out what the infection rate in your state is compared to others. Fast forward to now, find out where you can get vaccinated and so forth. It's the gift that keeps giving to cyber criminals, right? And so, they are gaining access using the same topic multiple times over a long period of time. And so today we're going to talk briefly about the threat landscape, then, what the bad guys are up to, and then how not to be victimized, how to strengthen that human firewall, not only around your business, but also around your friends, family, and loved ones. So if you discovered that burglaries were occurring in your neighborhood, what would you do to protect your most, important family, friends, loved ones? You would probably think of installing some cameras or a security system, or potentially getting together a neighborhood watch or getting a guard dog. But what would happen if you discovered that cyber criminals were stealing data from other organizations that look and felt like yours? What would you do to protect your organization? Knowing that, and I used to get in trouble all the time when I was at Gartner in positioning this particular statement, knowing that technology can't solve the world's problems. Nothing is 100% secure. So you could have the best and most expensive technology out there and available to you and layered, and all you need is one person, one human in your organization to make a decision and click into something, and you're off to the races. So the threat landscape, it's all of us all the time and everywhere, right? And so all of us, cyber criminals don't discriminate. They'll go after your kids, they'll go after you, they'll go after your elderly parents. They're going after your kids through gaming systems, through their apps. They're going, to the elderly, through Vishing calls, right? So the voicemail phishing, where they'll call up and say someone in your family is, in trouble and they need you to wire X amount of money to this location to help them out. Listen, my father is 87 years old and he is a Greek immigrant with a heavy Greek accent. Man has never owned a computer. These are the kind of people that they're targeting. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just complying with the demands. And kids are in a click-happy environment. The last couple generations were raised on electronic handheld devices. And so for them, it's second nature. Click, 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 to get everything from your homework to your news, to get on apps, to do your banking, to do everything. It's all the time, right? They don't take vacations or holidays, 365 days a year, they're coming for you. And it's everywhere. I mean, you could be sitting in a cafe, you could be sitting in Starbucks, and you're waiting for your friend, and your friend is late, and you think, well, let me jump on my phone and check out my social media or check out some emails, and you jump on Starbucks secure Wi-Fi, and what you don't know is that there's somebody across the cafe from you that has just created a Starbucks secure Wi-Fi #1, and you've accidentally jumped on that, right? And so now you're being victimized. And it's in all contexts of life, right? It's everywhere. And so, the point here is certainly not to, scare you. It's not fear for fun. But you have to understand that this is only going to get worse. And you as humans are the primary way that cyber criminals get into organizational systems. Now, because of the pandemic, we're experiencing, a unique working environment. People are working from home much more. My husband works in Manhattan. He hasn't been there since March 2020. His company has sold off some of their real estate. He's going to be working from home now indefinitely, right? And, we are stressed human beings, we are distracted human beings, we are lazy human beings. And cyber criminals are going to take advantage of all of this and our vulnerability, and they're going to keep increasing the attacks that they put out. So, if you haven't gotten a chance to read Verizon's data breach investigation report, it's a good one. The 2021 notes that 85% of all security incidents involve human element, right? So I'm going back now and sharing that, it is the human, right? Again, best technology, all you need is one individual. So let's talk about what the bad guys are up to this year, right? And so, we have at KnowBe4, being the largest and the best and having the most customers in this industry of security awareness and training, we have access to a lot of data that we can provide really good, strong research, data, and analytics on. And so our research is showing us that in small, medium, and large industries, these are the ones that are highly at risk right now. Now, it doesn't mean that other industries aren't at risk. These are just the ones that are in the really bad end of it, right? So we see healthcare and pharmaceuticals showing up in the small and the medium. You see education, not-for-profit, right? So these three industries in particular are targets. You have educational institutions where, they're focused on administration and faculty and not on the student. If you're at Florida State University, you got, 45,000 students there, and you're not providing them with any knowledge on security awareness, and now you're bringing their devices onto your systems. Healthcare and pharmaceuticals, not-for-profit, most notably have outdated systems, technology, and so forth, large, at risk. We see energy and utilities, which has been victimized several times over the course of the past year. Banking and insurance are interesting, two highly regulated industries, but again, they're under attack equally across the rest. So what we look at when we research our data is, what industries are at risk, but then what's the phish-prone percentage of individuals within companies that do nothing, that do no security awareness and training, then companies that do it for 90 days, and then companies that have a comprehensive security program that runs for a year or more. And so if we just look at if you do nothing, right? So if you do nothing and you're in energy and utilities and you're a large energy and utility company, that means that 52.4% of your employees at any possible time could potentially click on a phishing link, right? That's high. That's half your employees. If you are a not-for-profit, 40.8% could click on a link at any given time, right? So across the initial baseline, we're looking at 31.4%. So think about that. Almost a third of any of these industries could have an employee that doesn't know enough, that doesn't have the higher level of readiness, that doesn't have the instincts required to be able to not victimize their organizations or, frankly, their personal lives as well. But let's say you apply 90 days worth of security awareness training and phishing testing, automated testing, and we go back to energy and utilities. We now go from a very high percentage down to half, 15.4%. Not-for-profit goes from 40% down to 18%, right? This is just 90 days of training and testing. Let's see what happens when we go to 365 days, 12 months or more, low single digits. So the research shows that if you employ a consistent, comprehensive security awareness training program with automated phishing testing, that is also consistent, you will have your employees at lower phish-prone percentages, right? That's amazing. That's great results. So let's talk about how the bad guys attack, right? And let me start by saying this is easy. This is not difficult. That's why they do it. And it's a green field, right? So remember, everyone is a target. So what do? They search for the email addresses in your organization. They find everything publicly available. They use these to launch a big net to attack as many employees as possible. Think about the examples around the data that I just showed you. At any given time, a third of an organization has the potential of clicking on something that is mischievous. So that means that at any given time, these bad guys know that about 30% of an organization could help them gain access. So the different types of attack vectors, I mean, you have spear phishing, which is specific from an individual, could come from your CEO. It could appear that it comes from your CEO. It could be asking for some kind of data transfer, financial transfer of information. You have smishing, which is text phishing. If you've received any kind of, doctor notices through text, click here, type Y, type C to confirm your appointment, your hair appointment. You're getting a FedEx package that is late, click here to manage delivery options, right? All of these are ways of attack. Now, and then Vishing, which is the phone, which I shared in my example earlier on, about targeting the elderly. Let me share with you also that we're going into a time of year which is like a carnival for cyber criminals, right? And so the holidays, they know that this is a rich time for them to gain access and, navigate all sorts of environments that may not have been available to them in the past. I will tell you also that, these cyber criminals, especially in the areas of let's say smishing and so forth, they lean on our human nature of being lazy, right? And so instead of calling the doctor to confirm your appointment or going to FedEx online to see and manage your delivery, they know that we're just going to click into something because we don't want to take that extra step. We don't have time. We're in a click happy environment, right? And so we're just going to take the easiest method possible. So corona-related attacks have been up 6,000% since March 2020, which is astounding. Because of the new work from home environment that we're in, we can't just kind of get up and walk across the office. We can't jump into a huddle room to have conversations. So Google Calendar invites, Zoom invites, they've become more normalized. And so cyber criminals are using those as entry points. Trusted sender emails, LinkedIn is probably the biggest one. How many of you received a LinkedIn email the past week or so? Joanna Heisman wants you to connect with her. Oh, by the way, she sent you a message, click here. By the way, LinkedIn has already been compromised. From a personal perspective, I know I used Instacart to order groceries yesterday. So grocery deliver, food delivery, teledoc, telemedicine, remember healthcare systems traditionally out of date. And so, this just creates this haven for these cyber criminals. So if we look at just some top 10 lists, everybody loves these. Top social media email subject lines, they're coming from LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. These social media sites are not only ripe for, cyber criminals to get you to click into something, but also for you to buy something, fraudulent sales. If we look at the top 5 spoof brands, we've got Microsoft, UPS, Amazon. Listen, this is only scratching the surface, right? I could probably name about 20 more. Then we look at top 10 general emails. Again, we've got a lot from COVID, from the pandemic, but then you've got things that are emotional triggers for you. Payroll deduction. Your first thought is, what, somebody's messing up with my payroll? Is my payroll going to be late? Then there's vacation policy. What, you're messing now with my vacation time? Right, and so these are emotional triggers. Our customers are then telling us also that they're seeing some in the wild. A lot of pandemic related, but then again, emotionally triggered. HR benefit report. What, are my benefits changing?
Hey, Matt, it's Ron Gerber. I don't know if something fell through the cracks, but you're up in a few minutes.
Can you go on mute, please?
Right away.
Oh. I don't know if he's on mute. Anyway, check your passport expiration date, right? All of a sudden I've got a trip coming up and unfortunately, is something happening with my passport, right? And so these emotionally triggered emails will get you to take some kind of action. Then there's ransomware, right? And so again, this is another type of data breach. They'll infiltrate your network. They'll install malware. They're going to delete all your backups, hoping you don't have backups so they're not recent. They're going to steal your data, hold it for ransom, leak some stuff, potentially threaten your victims because now your customers, because now they have all that information and potentially publicly shame, some of your executives. It's all fun and games until you see something like this on your screen where you have 2 days, they want this amount of money, they're going to do this to your systems, and if you don't comply with them, it's going to be reputational damage, brand damage, and potential revenue loss. Here are a couple of the headlines that we've seen over the course of the past year. Colonial Pipeline was a big one. There's a couple primary cyber criminal gangs, the dark side, are evil being 2 of them. A lot of these large, sophisticated organizations, are protected. And by the way, you've got your 17-year-old sitting in their grandmother's basement in Russia, but you've also got these really sophisticated cybercrime organizations that actually have customer service departments to make sure that you pay the ransom that they're asking you for, right? And so last year, over the course of the last, I think, 12 to 18 months, 56% of the hacks were out of Russia, right? Others were out of China and Iran, right? And so if you're sitting within these countries, you're protected by their government as long as you're not hacking their companies that reside within, your nation state. And so it's very difficult for you to extradite any of these criminals, for you to find any of these criminals. Yes, can you recoup some of the financial loss? Yes, you can. But it's really hard to get a hold of these actual individuals and bring down these organizations because they are very well protected. So human firewall, right? So what are some things that you can do? These are things that we talk to at a level of nauseam. Check links, right? So, make sure that you're not clicking on something that is suspicious. Back up your data. Don't use public Wi-Fi's. Strong passwords. Use a password manager, right? I can't talk to you about who I use or who KnowBe4 uses. However, most passwords can be hacked. People are, again, creatures of habit and lazy. And tend not to change them and use the same one across all of their different apps and entry points. Avoid oversharing on social media. people, I look at social media sometimes and I just shake my head. I am marveled at what people share. And, I think that if you could, definitely do something immediately, it would be to curb your social media appetite and what it is that you put out there in the universe. And then just a couple principles of being a human firewall. Don't drop conclusions, right? Never make assumptions just because something's coming from someone within your organization that it's okay. Always keep your guard up and slow down, right? So, verify before you click or think. See something, say something, and, follow the prior policies within your organization. They're not there just for fun. They're actually there on purpose. So don't try to circumvent them. Here at KnowBe4, we have the largest catalog of content in more variety and styles than any other company out there. We have, everything from traditional. We have content pieces, we have videos, we have gaming, you name it, we have it. We have thousands of phishing templates, right? And we have a dashboard and administrative functions that make it easy on day one for you to start a program up. Don't do nothing. Do something, right? So, remember, as you increase the readiness of your employees, because they are the top choice for cyber criminals to gain access to your organization, make sure that some of that spending is diverted from additional layers of technology into this human element, which is the most critical element in protecting your organization.